fatal thought impacts past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful laws and pass. I back up my actions. Fact, don't ask, grab reactions. Jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused. Call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now. Y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. And now, whenever we last left off, Izuku Midoriya. He has gotten better at his understanding of his new biology. He understands that he is no longer human. And he is also revealed to Hope that he is aware who exactly she is. Hope revealing that she's made of Midoriya, Momo, Mina, and Melissa's DNA. Now, with that being said, this was quite interesting. Now, along with that, they were able to shut down a project that would be the precursor for Cell, or the project that would one day develop and create Cell for their timeline. Now, let us continue. We will start with Izuku Midoriya. Cell has just popped up, and Midoriya used instant transmission to get straight to him. Cell, actually, in the middle of a very, very busy city. And he's actually just waiting there in the sky. People running and trying to get away from the strange man. Now, with that, everyone does actually see Izuku Midoriya appear before many others. Now, with that being said, the androids are also being deployed. Bakugo and everyone else with their new combat augmentations. Now, with that being said, Midoriya does see Cell, who actually does look quite a bit different from the last time he did see him. Now in his perfect form. My, young man, you really do not know when to quit. Huh. Hi again, Cell. You look a bit different. You get some work done? Why, yes, I did. I have finally reached my perfect form. And now that I have done that, there is no way for you to beat me. Now, Midoriya tells Cell that that is not true. Cell actually being a bit more surprised, as everyone else does pop up. Momo, Mina, Hasashi, and Inko. Now, as soon as they all do pop up, Hasashi and Inko go into their ultimate forms, along with Mina. And Momo actually does turn Super Saiyan. Now, everyone is actually quite surprised whenever Momo did transform. The power she is displaying is very high. Now, Hasashi and Inko's power levels. They are actually around 95 trillion. And we do actually have Mina's power level, which would be at, I want to say, 32 trillion. Now, this is all quite intriguing. Cell watching Momo with her power level in particular. Now, Momo's power is at about 125 trillion. This being quite surprising. Cell looking at Midoriya and waiting for him to power up. Now, Midoriya just simply informs Cell that he's not going to show his true power until Cell shows his. Everyone just staring down at him, along with actually having Momo look at Midoriya a bit more concerned. Now, Midoriya tells Cell that he is aware that he was holding back in their last fight. So, if he wants to fight seriously, this is the time to do so. It's all over. This fight, nothing more will happen after this. Either Cell kills him today or he kills Cell. That is the only option that they have. Cell quite puzzled, asking exactly what does Midoriya mean by that. Now, Midoriya tells Cell that he understands that Saiyan nature, doesn't he? Wanting to fight. Wanting to get stronger. He knows that Cell feels it. It's the reason why Cell spared his life the second time. And why he spared him the first time. He wanted him to get stronger just so he can train out his strength. And Cell is going to do that again if he's not careful. He's going to toy with him and act like he is nothing. Now, Cell actually does applaud Midoriya, stating that that is quite fine. If he does want to die now, then he will oblige. Cell actually beginning to power up. And this is whenever everyone actually does watch in horror. At Cell's power level. Cell jumping up to around 200 trillion. Now, that is actually quite surprising. As everyone, they do stare down at Cell, and Midoriya does applaud him, before informing Cell that he knows that that's not his maximum. He can feel him still holding back. And if he does have to force him to go all out, Midoriya then going Super Saiyan. Or Grade 4 Mastered Super Saiyan. Now, Cell actually does look on in quite a bit of amazement, along with everyone staring down at Midoriya, whose power skyrocketed. Now, I did do a little bit of math, and I haven't been using the actual Zenkai multiplier. I've only been using a small multiplier that I do come up with. I do change it sometimes, but then I actually discover the official multiplier, which makes Deku far stronger than I do. Now, with that being said, Midoriya in Super Saiyan, his power is at 250 trillion, and Cell is actually quite a bit more amazed, before applauding the boy on getting stronger, commenting that Saiyans are amazing. The rate of growth is exponential. Now, this is whenever these two do actually begin fighting. Midoriya and Cell zooming at each other, as they both collide fist. Now, everyone watching is kind of surprised, as Midoriya and Cell begin to go back and forth in their fight. Now, Mina is quite confused as to what is going on. She cannot see their fight. She can see vague after images. And, well, the force of their fists colliding, basically. The shockwaves produced from them. Now, everyone within the city is currently watching this happen, as Midoriya and Cell are going back and forth. Now, Midoriya and Cell just keep going, and Cell actually does show off his true power. These two are going what seems to be blow for blow, and fist for fist. As while these two are going back and forth in the sky, Deku actually does go to throw out his left hand, and Cell throws out his right, these two both knocking each other across the face. as Midoriya actually does go to swing his leg around his body, going to try and kick Cell. Cell being able to block his leg with Midoriya's leg with his right arm, as Midoriya actually does go to bring up his leg, or bring up his own arm to block Cell's leg. Now, with that it is quite interesting. Cell commenting on all this, asking Midoriya why doesn't he exactly just end their fight, right here and right now. Because, Cell, I want to see you at your best. Now, Cell actually does oblige, showing Midoriya a trick. Cell powering up to 100%, before simply beginning to appear to grow more in size. Now, as it does actually happen, Cell shows off the multi-form. And he actually does do a trick he's previously done to Midoriya, creating multiple Cell Juniors. Now, with that being said, the Cell Juniors are fighting against everybody else. Meanwhile, Bakugo and the androids, they have arrived. Now, they are currently able to witness the fight going on in the air. Midoriya actually fighting against Cell, dodging and trying to weave in between 2 to 3 different forms of Cell, and going on the offensive by actually being able to punch one Cell before actually trying to dodge another, and actually being able to take a blow to the face by another Cell. Now, with that being said, Bakugo actually is trying to intervene, informing Kirishima and everyone else to try and take care of the other Cell Juniors. Now, with that, they all do separate, and Bakugo actually does come in from behind and smash into one of these multi-form cells. The cell being sent flying before it actually does smash into and re-merge with one cell. Now, that cell is able to actually swing around and go to try and attack Bakugo, Midoriya being able to kick that cell directly in the back and sending it flying towards Bakugo, who responds by bringing up both of his hands and creating a ki blast, firing it directly at Cell, causing great injury. Now, the other multi-formed Cell does actually disappear, Cell trying to catch his breath and actually keep his cool, trying to understand that he is perfect, and that they are simply just making a mockery of him with cheap tricks. Now, Midoriya actually does look at Bakugo. So where the hell have you been this whole time, Bakugo? Huh, don't worry about that. But what about you? You've been a bit busy, haven't you? With your son and everything? Yeah, how'd you know? Wait, Midoriya has a son? That's not possible. How long has it been? I should have only been out for a month. Not a year. Wait a minute. That's odd. Exactly how do you have a son? Huh. Why would I tell you that, Cell? Because. Satiate my curiosity. Huh. Well, it's a long story. But let's just keep it at. When a man and a woman love each other. Huh. Don't get sarcastic with me. Now, Midoriya and Bakugo actually face off against Cell. Both these two actually beginning to fight at him and lay into some heavy damage. The Cell Juniors retreating from their attack on everyone else, as they actually do go to face off against Midoriya and Bakugo. Midoriya actually being surprised whenever he actually does have to spin back around and, with all the force he can in his hand, create a Keyblade and slice off a Cell Jr.'s head. Now, he's able to destroy a few of them, as Cell is actually going after Bakugo. Now, Midoriya does fly in and immediately smash into Cell's back, before bringing his hands up and going to bring them behind his back, being to power up a powerful Ki Blast. Now, Cell is actually quite injured, and Midoriya is simply just waiting, as he is sitting there charging up this powerful blast. And then you do actually have Hope and Momo, who do go to intervene. Hope powering up to Super Saiyan, and Momo doing the exact same. Now, Momo actually does rush in, being able to blindside Cell, as whenever he went to go brace himself for a blast, she's able to throw her own blast straight into the small of his back, and actually blow off, or blow open a piece of Cell's back, basically causing some great injury. Cell screaming out in pain about that. As Hope, she also did actually try firing a blast into Cell's back, as soon as Momo disappeared. Now, after that did happen, Midoriya actually did send his own blast straight towards Cell. Cell going to try and bring his hands up to block it. Now, Cell actually does block the blast, and after some struggling, send it flying up towards space, before he is just standing there, heavily injured, and actually trying to regenerate. Now, Midoriya is actually a bit more impressed, along with stating that Cell, he believes that he should end this now. Before Midoriya does one simple thing. He actually does increase his power level. Everyone quite confused, along with Vados. She was watching the fight, as she was holding the baby, watching as Midoriya shows off a power beyond Super Saiyan, him jumping up to Super Saiyan 2, and everyone feeling Midoriya's power level shake the planet. Cell being quite fearful, and being to scream out that that's not possible. Now, Bakugo is watching on. All of the gear he has implemented in his body now is informing him that Midoriya is out of reach. Now, it's basically informing him that the projections for Midoriya's power level were already somewhat well known, and Midoriya, his power, was somewhat harder to understand. However, this new data that they are currently looking at, it is showing that Midoriya is far off their projected margins. And Bakugo realizes that this is the power of a Saiyan. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, he simply just rushes towards Cell, appearing directly in front of him as he actually does throw up his hand into Cell's gut. And Cell actually does recoil at the punch, taking a step backwards, and actually somewhat falling over onto his knees, heavily winded, before going to look back up. Midoriya kicking Cell directly in his chin as he actually does break it. Now, Cell does get sent flying backwards, and everyone is currently watching. Hope still impressed at her father. This is the man that she has never met before, and here he is, a walking, living legend in her timeline. His strength is rival to that of a god. Now, She is currently wondering, is this what he meant with a level beyond? Is this her true power? Would she be able to reach that level? Now, with all of that, Midoriya actually does start walking towards Cell, informing Cell that this is all it. This is the power Cell wanted to see, is it not? Cell actually just standing back onto his feet and staring at Midoriya. Midoriya going on to state that this is the power of a Saiyan. In fact, it's what happens whenever he decides to let go of his cool for a minute. Now, Midoriya does actually begin to smile, stating that this power is also stronger and deadlier than Super Saiyan. You can achieve it through pure rage, or through training. This is his results. He trained himself half to death before, but then, with his family now, it pushed him further. It gave him a reason. Whenever he first discovered this power, he was fighting non-stop. Then Momo told him about this. He is able to understand the difference between his human side and his Saiyan side. And one side is telling him about one little thing. It is time for Cell to die. Midoriya bringing his hand up in front of Cell's face. As Cell does actually watch the electricity form around Midoriya's arm, coursing his hand as a ball of energy begins to form, small and compact. As Midoriya actually does let out a large blast. Now, this small little blast that barely covers Midoriya's entire palm. As soon as it leaves it, it immediately erupts into a huge energy, completely coating Cell, and blasting him into the distance. Now, they can no longer feel Cell's energy. And Midoriya actually does fall over onto one of his knees, breathing and panting a little heavily. Damn. This form. Still not used to it. Okay. I should try and master this one next. Now, before Midoriya's mind can even wonder, Cell, he actually does have his power reappear. He was only gone for a minute, but it appears that was all he needed. Cell immediately reappeared. He appeared behind Midoriya's group of family, being able to swiftly smash his hand into the back of Momo's neck, her falling forwards and actually very well injured, along with actually him bringing his hand up and blasting Hope in her back. The beam piercing through her back and blasting out the front of her body, as he then actually made his move for the androids, being able to absorb Melissa. And let us say Todoroki. Now, with that, Kirishima and Kendo actually to try and go on the offensive, trying to fight and attack Cell. Cell with one hand up right before he's able to go into his new form, swiftly just throws his hand out forwards. These two being blown away into pieces. As Midoriya watches, blood, oil, and machine parts get sent flying, along with Bakugo. Bakugo being extremely enraged, going to fly towards Cell to attack. As soon as Bakugo does actually go in, he throws his hand out backwards and in front of him, as he throws his fist directly into Cell's face, trying to punch into him more. Now, Momo is lying there on the ground, almost completely lifeless. However, she does actually hear Hope somewhat breathing, trying to reach her hand out and grab her daughter's hand. Now, Midoriya actually does go rushing back in to fight against Cell. As soon as he does rush back in, Cell catches his fist and does actually show Midoriya the new gap. It does appear that sand biology is quite tricky. You were right. I just had to wait for an opening. Bastard. Midoriya is screaming out in rage. As Cell actually does feel, Midoriya begin to power up a blast. Now, Midoriya actually does go to throw his hands into Cell's body, trying to punch away at him and attack him. And Cell, he simply just thinks that this is adorable. Midoriya's punches are seemingly having no effect on him. And he's actually beginning to laugh, as Midoriya just begins to try and power up more and scream out in absolute rage. Before Cell, just with one hand, brings it up and smacks Midoriya across his arm. Midoriya breaking his left arm as he gets sent flying away into the distance. Him landing on the ground and actually feeling his injuries. Him just beginning to power up more as he does try and stand back onto his feet. Now, Midoriya actually does get back up, before trying to bring his right arm up and grab his left one. Now, Midoriya is able to verify that his arm is broken, before trying to at least still bring it up to fight against Cell. Now, he is thinking, what did he just do? That blast should have killed him. There's no way that he is still alive. Now, Cell just informs Midoriya that was all quite fun. But he did actually take a little bit of his advice on being a Saiyan and listening to those instincts. He took a risk. He knew that his cells were possible of regeneration, but he didn't think that they were that powerful. Going on to state that if he does want to kill him, then he needs to make sure to destroy the nucleus within his body. However, that is not going to be easy. Now, over with Mina and everyone else. Momo is able to actually grab her daughter's hands and transfer enough energy over with the healing technique. Hope's breathing becoming less shallow, before she actually does try and stand back up. Now, she does actually begin to power up, and Cell actually does look over at this. Now, he does find this to be a bit more interesting. So, the little girl wants to get into the big boy games. She is still far out of her league. Him going to bring his hand up, as we do have Hisashi and Co. They intervene, using instant transmission before being able to grab Cell by his arm. And Hisashi does actually try and force Cell's arm straight behind his back. Cell actually kind of intrigued by this, stating that neither one of them are clearly strong enough to handle him. So, this little game is not going to be easy. Now, Hisashi and Inko scream at Midoriya to use Hakai energy. And Midoriya is quite surprised. What? They're joking, right? But if I hit them, then... No, I can bring them back. Okay. This is not going to be easy. Now, Midoriya is actually going to charge one of these little spheres up in his hand. And Cell, he's still dealing with Hisashi and Inko, who are trying to hold on to him. as he actually just states that they are crazy. Now, we actually do have Hope, who does bring back her hand and throw a large ki blast. It being sent flying in as it actually does hit Cell across his face. Cell just looking in her direction as he does bring his own hand up. And Midoriya, he actually does blast out Hakai energy in his right hand. Now, Vados does actually continue watching, as Midoriya sends his blast towards Cell, and Cell is quite amazed by it. That looks different. Oh well. Cell going to bring his hand up to blast it away. Him throwing his own blast at his full power. Now, as soon as Cell's blast touches the Hakai energy, it gets destroyed. And it just keeps moving forwards. Cell actually quite intrigued about all this. And seeing this as a threat, before moving, throwing Hisashi over his shoulder and smashing him in his back with his knee. Before grabbing Inko by her back and throwing her over his own shoulder. Now, he does use enough force to actually break her own arm, before sending her flying down towards the earth. Now, Cell then does move and watches this ball of energy does fly away into the distance. Now, he does actually think about this. Hakai energy. The last time Midoriya did use that, he destroyed a city. So what exactly is that power? If he could harness it, would it make him powerful too? Then again, a blast like that should not have been able to deflect his own. Now, Midoriya's body is beginning to succumb to the effects of fatigue. His full power, along with Hakai energy, using them like this against Cell is not good. He only has one more chance, and Cell isn't just going to hand it over to him easily. Now, with that being said, Cell actually does begin to make a bit of a plan, as he does inform Midoriya that he is going to kill everyone he loves, starting with his beloved daughter. Now, he actually does go to walk towards Hope, as he does actually go on stating. He is quite surprised to see another genetic anomaly in this timeline. What are you talking about? I'm nothing like you. Oh my. I will let you believe that, he says, still walking towards her. Going on to give her a bit of an explanation. He's been thinking about it for a while now. Why he arrived in this timeline, instead of where Goku and everyone else is. He does have a theory. It is because of her. Because of me? Why, yes. A time traveler. You went back in time to warn them about a threat. However, what do you know about time travel? What are you talking about? Well, let's put it this way. I never came back in time to this timeline. Yet a threat still killed Midoriya, if that's what I understand. So, you came back in time to stop that threat, but then I appear. And I was already time traveling. So, you swept me away in the flow of time, to this moment. Wait, so you're here because of you. So you finally understand. Now, while Cell was fucking monologuing, Inko and Hasashi are back on their feet, and they're able to actually get behind Cell this time. Now, they actually do grab on his Cell and hold on to him. Hasashi being able to grab Cell by both of his arms, and trying to attempt the full Nelson. While Inko, she actually does bring herself up and grab Cell by his neck, and blast him in the face with Ki. Now, Cell actually does go stumbling backwards at this, attempting to shake Hasashi off, and actually try and grab Inko. However, he can barely get his arms above his head, barely being able to scrape the top of Inko's hair. Now, he basically just begins to try and fly around. However, Hasashi, he actually does throw his legs firmly onto the ground, and tell Midoriya to fire off his blast. Now, Midoriya actually does listen, going to pull back his hands and do another blast. Hasashi screaming that it needs to be Hakai. If he comes back again, there's no telling what he could do. Now, Cell actually does understand this a bit better, as he does actually try and bloat himself up into a balloon. Now, as he does actually attempt that, we do have Bakugo, who comes in and immediately punches Cell straight into his chest. Now, Cell actually does have the wind get knocked out of him, as he does go to recoil forwards and puke. Now, Bakugo just stopped Cell's entire plan to create more Cell Juniors. He had to move a few pieces around, and as soon as he did do that, Melissa's shield comes pouring out of Cell's mouth. Now, Bakugo actually does grab her, before screaming at Midoriya to fire the damn blast. And Midoriya actually does oblige, bringing his hand up and firing out a large blast with all his gods, before actually falling over forwards and feeling his muscles somewhat give way to the pain, dropping into his base form. Now, Cell is actually trying to move, trying to power up. However, whenever he lost that boost that Melissa gave him, he became weaker, meaning that they can hold him more. Now, Cell gets hit by the Hakai energy, as it actually does begin to consume his body. Cell trying to fight back against it. However, he does not last very long. His body is engulfed in it and destroyed. Now, Hasashi and Inko were not that lucky either. They were still affected by the Hakai energy, and they both did actually succumb to its effects, Cell being blasted into smithereens in roughly a few seconds, while they were destroyed before he was. Now, after Midoriya does actually fall forwards, he's heavily breathing. He can't feel Cell's energy anymore, so that's at least good. Now, Midoriya actually does fall over onto his side, as he does actually begin to try and recover. Now, with that, we do have Hope and Momo. They come running over to see how Midoriya is doing. And Midoriya, he is actually a bit more tired, saying that he thinks he'll be okay, just to make sure that Cell is dead. Now, we do actually have Vados, who is very intrigued at the situation. Midoriya just destroyed Cell. However, it also does appear that he does not understand what he has also done. Now, With that being said, the humans do attempt to gather the Dragon Balls. However, they are informed of something. Whenever they did go to the lookout, a strange man did greet them, as this was confusing. Momo actually stating, "Hello, Kami," as the man corrected her. His name is Piccolo. Okay. So, were you able to destroy Cell? Yes. But why is your name different? Also, you do seem to be more like. Well, you do not need to worry about that. Now, do be aware that me and Kami, or who I formerly was, is now changed. The old man and his other counterpart have fused again. Meaning that you don't have Dragon Balls. Huh? What are you talking about? Old man? Yeah. Basically, him giving an explanation. He's both King Piccolo's offspring and technically son. Along with that, Kami and Piccolo actually did fuse, training him in the hyperbolic time chamber for a brief day, before then fusing with him. Now, this was quite intriguing, and they can actually feel this Namekian's latent power. Now, with that being said, Cell is defeated, and Vados has actually come back to Earth. Midoriya waking up sometime later, as everyone does gather on the lookout. Now, Midoriya is asking questions, if there's any way to bring back the Dragon Balls. Vados explaining that they would have to go to Namek, and most likely they could use the Dragon Balls there or possibly get another Guardian of Earth to create them. That doesn't sound so bad. However, there is a catch. Huh? Midoriya, your parents died to Hakai energy, is that correct? Yeah. Why? I see. Well, this is different. What do you mean? Hakai energy. The energy is only supposed to be used by a god of destruction. And anyone destroyed by it, they cannot come back to the land of the living. What? What do you mean? The energy does not just destroy the physical body, however. It also can destroy the soul. Now, Midoriya hearing that is shocked. His parents may not be in the other world? Vados, you're lying to me. No, I am not. Midoriya is screaming at her. How can she not inform him of that? She never informed him the destructive capabilities of Hakai energy. She just told him that it can destroy things. If he can kill somebody and not even let them have their own life after death, exactly what does that mean? Now, he does actually go off screaming at her, before he does somewhat break down crying. Now, Vados does inform him that he can try and gain an audience with her father. What do you mean? My father, the Grand Priest. He is far stronger and has more authority in the situation than I do. And you actually have done well in your training, especially discovering your ascended powers. So, I believe if you do talk to him, you can arrange some sort of deal. What? So, you're saying I might be able to get my parents back? Not really. Most likely you can at least bring back their souls. In fact, I believe that if you did want their souls back, you might have to talk to Grand Zeno. But getting an audience with him would not be easy at all. Zeno? Uh, okay. How exactly do I talk to your father then? Hmm. Well, I will go and make the arrangements now. However, for the moment, I believe that you can all relax. We will go to Namek and find a new guardian for the planet to recreate the Dragon Balls. Then, after that, I can take you to his palace. Now, with that being said, everything has somewhat been sorted out for the moment. Now, Hope actually does plan to return to the future. However, she is faced with a dilemma. She wants to learn about the Super Saiyan 2 power before she does leave. Now, Midoriya and her do actually begin their own training. And Midoriya, he actually does take to it immediately. Now, everyone can tell that Midoriya does need a bit of a distraction, since he basically did have to destroy his own parents to take down Cell. Now, with that being said, he does actually begin to help her train. And meanwhile, we do have the other androids. Melissa, Bakugo, and I believe Kirishima are the ones that do currently remain. They have all been talking, and Bakugo himself has seen the gap widen. Now, whenever Midoriya first appeared, he simply was able to actually show off his own power. And Bakugo, his own systems told him that he was not able to take Midoriya down. Then there is currently, whenever Midoriya first turned Super Saiyan. And then there's now. His systems are telling that Midoriya is getting exponentially stronger, and that there might not be a way for him to surpass him. Now, Midoriya's biology does seem to be what gives him the edge. So, Bakugo does have a few ideas about all this. Introducing these ideas to Melissa and Kirishima. Now, with that being said, I do believe that I can leave this part off of here. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.